afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. It's said that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. We're not sure if that's always the case, but we know being across the fence sure beats working. Joining me for a look back at some of his work this past year is Across the Fence associate producer Keith Silva. Where do you want to start?
Let's go back to 1926.
Okay.
How's that for specificity?
Nice.
That's when UVM had decided to have a mascot. 1926, only men voted on this issue, but they had picked the catamount, and it was a lot of fun to do this story because I got a chance to sort of go back and research mascots at UVM. Got to learn about Rink, the only live mascot that UVM had. Lasted exactly one semester, so before Rink sort of had to drop out. And Kitty and Charlie, of course. And if I learned one thing following around a 6-foot-tall cat, it's that everyone loves a rally.
Catamount is critical to my job.
Krista Balo is a UVM Associate Athletic Director and University Licensing Coordinator. Think of her as the keeper of the catamount. She helped give the UVM mascot its makeover in 2004.
The look of the mascot is really aligned with the look of our primary mark, which we refer to as the VCAT logo. So it's really important for us to make sure that the mascot, when he is out and about in the community, that it really does tell the story of who we are as an athletic department, because he, again, is representing our entire university, not just varsity athletics. When you look at our VCAT logo, you don't necessarily see Charlie Catamount. Now you look at our VCAT logo and you see a representation of that catamount in Rally Catamount's face. Which is also important. I think if you really look across the board at many Division I institutions, you'll see that there is a consistency between their brand and their logo and their mascot. What does it mean to be a catamount? What does it mean to put on the jersey? What does it mean to walk around this campus? And who ultimately embodies the ultimate student here at UVM? And the mascot has to represent who we want to be and who we are.
For the students who get to be Rally, it's nothing but fun.
My dad, for one, brags about it all the time, that his daughter is the mascot. And so it's really cool. It's like a huge talking point if you use it in the right way, because applying to other jobs, I put it on my application sometimes just as like a little thing to add like a talking point to it. And people are really excited about it generally, and it makes you want to like continue in a way to keep that living on. And I can't wait to be able to like go back in life and talk to my like grandkids or my children and be like, that was me one day and I was running around in the rally suit. And it's really cool in that way, and to be a part of like a legacy almost.
So I have to ask, did you try on the suit?
Short answer, no. Long answer, no. One of the things I left out of that story was that there's actually a rally training tape, and I've watched that tape. I can't go through that. It's pretty hard work being Rally.
Now, Rally wasn't the only catamount you tracked down this year.
That's right. I did an interview with a faculty member at UVM who had won Teacher of the Year, essentially, Jed Murdoch, and he's a wildlife biologist, and I asked him about catamounts. We got into this great conversation about catamounts, and I thought, oh, I'll use this in our catamount story. But I realized after the research that I did on Rally, or the UVM mascot, that what's better than one story about catamounts is two stories about catamounts. Rally aside, if you think there are catamounts in Vermont, you're probably right.
Yes, there are lots of sightings that come through, and the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department does a great job at investigating, I think, all of those sightings. But there really isn't a lot of hard evidence. We've got lots of trail cams out, lots of ways of monitoring the environment remotely. It would be surprising if they were here and we didn't detect them. Now, I have to say that as soon as I make the statement that the catamounts are not here, one will pop up tomorrow, in the news. There's always a chance. There's some uncertainty. The start of a population is always a pair of dispersing individuals, right? So, there's the possibility that more than one could end up here and a population could get started. But, you've also got this issue of social carrying capacity. Are people here in Vermont willing to accept, a large felid, a large carnivore in the landscape? And we made it pretty clear many years ago in the 1800s, really, that we did not want them around. Both wolves and catamounts were driven to extinction through bounties and other means. Maybe times have changed. I would be thrilled to know that catamounts are here. They're such powerful symbols of wilderness, and to me, knowing that the landscape is in enough of a natural state to be able to support cougars is something that I would hold great value towards.
Because Vermont lacks large open areas like those out west, Murdoch tempers his enthusiasm for the possible return of big cats to the Green Mountains. Kessler, on the other hand, embraces the mystery.
And heck, if you're a tracker, you're fueled by mystery. It drives you to get right down on your hands and knees and get dirty and follow things and follow them a long time and look at details that other people would think are silly. And because that's very tactile, that's tangible, that's real. But what drives you to do that is the mystery, the love of the mystery, and you never solve the whole mystery.
Whether there are cougars in Vermont or not, or if they're only passing through, perhaps it's good there's still a little mystery about that.
After this story aired, we had several viewers comment on Facebook and YouTube about seeing catamounts. As Mike Kessler says, Judy, they're out there, so everybody loves a mystery.
Well, speaking of Mike, there's actually an update to this story too, right?
Yeah, Mike actually saw a Canada lynx. Not a catamount, obviously, but a Canada lynx that went through his backyard this past summer. So I'm thinking if we just get a camera and put it on Mike and just follow him around, perhaps that's the way we'll be able to figure out if there are catamounts or not.
Good idea. Now you've covered wild animals. How about something a little less dangerous?
All right, if you insist, but let's go bigger.
Okay.
Let's go a full ton. This summer I met with Landon Campbell. He's a member of the 4-H Working Steer program, and as it turns out, a master of thunder and lightning.
Spot. My lightning, spot.
It's rare to meet someone who can claim to be a master of thunder and lightning.
My lightning, spot. Feels like I'm a boss. Feels like I'm like the president or something.
The president of thunder and lightning?
Pretty much, because they're a lot bigger than me. I'm a lot smaller, but yeah, I'm still in charge.
Landon Campbell is a member of the Green Mountain Teamsters 4-H Club.
Spot. Get over.
That's lightning on the left and thunder on the right. All three have been training together every day for the past year.
My lightning, spot. They listen best to the person who got them, raised them, drive them.
Right.
Basically, these guys will listen best to me. Step up. It really all falls down to who's with them the most and who drives them the most and who does everything the most with them, which is me. Head up, buddy. Boy.
The Green Mountain Teamsters 4-H Club only meets once a month, so the bulk of the training and everyday care is the responsibility of the Teamster and their family.
I like those bulls just as well as he does.
Mick Campbell is a former 4-H'er. He and his wife are proud to have both their children in 4-H. Mick had to expand the barn and make sure his truck and trailer could haul 2 steer. Those changes were easy compared to another factor in taking on thunder and lightning.
One of the big issues for us when we started this was actually it was a safety issue, because as you see, these bulls aren't small. You know, these steers are fairly good size. They get big. And when Landon was little, we were just very cautious and concerned that anything can happen. They're animals, you know. So we were erred on the side of caution for sure, because it's just a big safety issue with us. And as he's progressed and gotten older and gotten better with them and stuff, it's been kind of tough. But we've tried to pull back a little bit and let him mature and let him do his own thing. And he's progressing very well, and we are too.
Lightning.
Thunder and lightning tip the scales at about 900 pounds apiece.
Whoa.
Landon,
Thunder,
not so much.
How much do you weigh?
About 90 pounds, maybe.
So you're
95.
and you're pushing around these nearly 1,000-pound animals.
Yes, that's true. That's very true. Head up!
A postscript to this story, Landon won a couple of blue ribbons at the Tunbridge Fair this year. And you know what, Judy, as I was thinking about this story, I realized I should have just come to you because you are a former Teamster. You have some experience in this area.
Things went horribly wrong. I'm glad you didn't come back to me. Since we're telling stories, why don't you share what happened behind the scenes at one of my favorite stories that you did, which of course had to do with fainting goats.
Ah, yes, fainting goats, the thing to let people know about fainting goats is they don't always faint, and they do not faint on cue, unfortunately. So yeah, we went up to this farm, and I took my daughters because I said, wouldn't you want to see a fainting goat? I want to see fainting goats. And except for a couple of the little goats who aren't used to it yet, I was there 3 hours and we got one goat to faint. So that was one of those things, I'm sure not my proudest moments as a dad, but you know, we did see one goat fainted. And the good news is, you know, it doesn't hurt them or anything like that. And it's not like you can run out there and they just all keel over. So.
Which is what we were hoping for.
Yeah, well, all right, yeah.
So I know our viewers really enjoy the places that you and Howard Coffin go. Tell us the stories of Vermont history and what your favorite stop was this year.
Yeah, Howard had told me that he had discovered some gravestones of Vermonters who were in the 54th Massachusetts. As someone who grew up and raised in Massachusetts, I said, oh, 54th, all right, let's do that. It was the first African-American regiment organized in the North, fought for the Union. The one thing that Howard told me was, we have to go to New Hampshire. And I sort of said, okay. So I grabbed my camera gear and went with Howard to the St. Gaudens National Historic Site in Cornish, New Hampshire, where the 54th are memorialized.
This is the home of Augustus St. Gaudens, one of America's great sculptors. He had grown up in New York City. As a boy, he had heard Abraham Lincoln speak at the Cooper Union Institute. He had seen Abraham Lincoln lying in state at New York City Hall. After the Civil War, he did a statue of Admiral Farragut that made him nationally famous. And when it came time to memorialize the 54th Massachusetts Regiment and its commander Robert Gould Shaw, St. Gaudens was chosen. That regiment, which was raised around Boston by abolitionists, Frederick Douglass's sons were in it, became the first black Union regiment to go into heavy combat on the 18th of July, 1863 at Fort Wagner in South Carolina. And when they attacked in the late afternoon a massive Confederate fortress, they didn't have a chance, but they knew that the reputation of blacks as fighters rested with them, and they did magnificent duty and won glory at heavy casualties. St. Gaudens decided to depict black soldiers exactly as they looked. And this is the first monumental depiction with accurate black features in it. It showed Shaw, Colonel Shaw, leading his men through Boston, marching to the ships that would take them south to the war zone. Not long after the unveiling in Boston in 1897, the great sculptor Auguste Rodin saw a model of this monument, and on seeing it, he fell to one knee, bowing in reverence.
So what have you and Howard got planned for 2019?
We've got a couple of plans for 2019, a couple of shows that we've got in the can. We're going to follow in the footsteps of radical Republican and Vermont's own Thaddeus Stevens. He was very anti-slavery, helped pass the Emancipation Proclamation, and he was born right here in Danville. And we actually went to the spot that he walked from his home to school, and it's just, you know, every day, and he had a club foot, of course, so you know, it just makes it that much more exciting.
Now, a lot of times you and Howard are on private property. How do you handle that?
We handle that because we have Howard Coffin. Howard is one of those people who's very happy to just go and ask. He learned it from his grandmother. He always tells me, you know, boys, it never hurts to ask. Sounds better when Howard says it. But you know, Howard goes up and he'll walk up there, and I'll sort of stand in the background and shake my head, and sure enough, every single time, you know, people say, oh, and they know the show. They say, you know, we'd invite you in if Judy Simpson was here. And we say, oh, well, you know. But, you know, I would tell this and I would feel like we're going to jinx ourselves the next time we going someplace. But I really think that it's the people of Vermont. I've never never not surprised when someone says yes. But it's just wonderful. I think Vermonters are caring folks. They're interested, they're curious, and I think that's one of the things that makes Across the Fence happen, and certainly makes a lot of my stories happen.
Well, terrific. Well, thanks a lot for sharing your stories from 2018. I always look forward to seeing what you come up with because you're very creative. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And that's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.